This is a 2025 Indian Scout 101, and this is a 2021 Harley Davidson Sportster S. These are both sports cruisers from America's top motorcycle manufacturers. Which one's better, Indian, Harley, the Scout, or the Sportster? These two bikes have more in common than you might think, but they do go about it in a different way. I would say that the Sportster is more of a muscle cruiser, where the 101 is more of a power cruiser or a true sport cruiser. They both have Brembo calipers, upside down forks, TFT displays, and crazy enough, they both have 1250cc 60-degree V-twins.
Jumping on the Scout 101, comparing it to the Sportster S. And what a more perfect place to start this conversation than behind a semi-truck at slow speeds. Because that's where we know the Sportster S is basically the worst. Is this any better than the Sportster S? And to be very honest with you, I think so, man. It's a more ergonomic seating position. The Sportster S is kind of neo-retro, slightly aggressive, a little bit more upright, but slightly lean forward at the same time, to where it's kind of confused in its ride. This is more of a traditional cruiser. Butt down low, arms up high, feet a little bit forward. I think that these forwards are a little bit less forward than on the Sportster, if I'm being honest. But I think just slow speed sitting here in traffic, the 101 is a little bit better. Just being honest with you.
Now, this may be my personal opinion. You are welcome to form your own. And I'll be a little biased here and say that I think that the Sportster S looks a little better. It doesn't stick to the traditional cruiser looks, but it does have this open front wheel, and the hints of bronze make it look, but man, does the red on this 101 pop. And that front end with those dual 4-piston Brembo calipers looks really aggressive. I really just think that this head could use a little bit more elegant of a front wheel. But other than that, I really do think that this is a good looking bike.
Now, cruise control, wind protection at 70 mile an hour cruising. I really do still think that the Scout 101 takes it, man. The comfortable position has a little bit more cushy seat. The windscreen on this is factory, whereas the windscreen on the Sportster S is not. But given mine has the windscreen, this does block a little bit more wind, less turbulently. Since it has the curvature to it, it blocks your body, but it still gives you a clean gust of air around. On the Sportster, I get a clean gust of air, but sometimes it's a little bit more turbulent because that windscreen's a little bit more stood up like this. Kind of hard to explain, but slightly more turbulent on the Sportster S. This random speed cruising, I would probably give it to the Scout 101, and just visually looking at it, you should be able to kind of look at it and tell.
Now, when it comes to tech, both of these are fairly similar, but I do think that the Scout 101 takes the cake. They both have traction control, they both have ABS, they both have digital TFT displays, but the 101 has built-in nav, whereas on the Sportster, you have nav built in through the Harley app, but you have to connect your phone to get there. Also, on the 101, you can turn traction control off on the fly, whereas on the Sportster, you have to be at a full stop to turn off traction control. I do think that the Sportster screen is a little bit more ergonomically friendly and a little bit more appealing. But again, I do think that the 101 takes the cake for actual features and usability, as it is a touchscreen. Hey, if you like the Sportster S more, click that subscribe button. And if you like the 101 more, also click the subscribe button. Subscribe.
Suspension. Scout 101 has dual upside down forks, 4.7 inches of suspension travel in the front, 3 inches of suspension travel in the back, with dual mono shocks in the back. The suspension on this thing is probably a little bit more compliant. To be honest, the way that this particular bike is set up is a little bit on the stiffer end. I thought it was going to be closer to the Sport Scout and the other model Scouts where they're a little bit more plush, but the 101 does have a little bit more aggressive suspension, so I don't actually think that it's softer than the Sportster S. It does have more travel and will absorb bigger bumps.
But one thing, my personal preference are these engines, the 1250cc Revolution Max and Speed Plus motors. I think that Indian hit a home run with this 1250cc Speed Plus motor. It has good power, it has mid-range torque, it carries all the way to redline, kind of like this.
Oh my God. This thing hauls. What is this?
But the Sportster S with the Revolution Max hit a grand slam. It has an extra 10 horsepower and about an extra 10 foot-pounds of torque, and you can feel it, kind of like this.
Oh yeah!
Now, I'm not sure if it's that the Speed Plus is just a little bit more restricted than the Sportster, but from 4,000 to 5,000 RPMs, the Sportster S has a little bit extra pickup in the middle, and it carries that all the way through. So this is going to be a little bit more aggressively accelerating in the mid-range. Not saying that that's not, it's just a step above when it comes to power.
In the turns, this bike is lighter on the side of the tire. It's more snappy on the side of the tire. The 101 is a little heavy on center, but the Sportster S is actually a little heavy on center. So strangely enough, they're both the same. But this bike, as soon as you get it off the center of the tire, it feels lighter. Whereas the Sportster, you still gotta push it into the turns. Like, you have to take the bike, the Sportster S, you have to take it and push it into the turns. This bike, you have to push it off center, but it does the rest by itself. So right here, as we take this bend, I give input now and the bike takes over. From here forward, it's all very, very light. All of this lean feels very light all the way until as far as I feel like going. So it's interesting. As far as the big sweepers, I think that this bike actually handles it very well. You do have to fight the Sportster a little bit more. The lean in on both bikes is essentially the same. You have to give it a little bit of bar inputs to get the bikes to go. But this bike goes on its own. Once you get it tipped in, it definitely feels very light in the turn. So from 10 degrees, 15 degrees, 20 degrees of lean, that progression feels very light and you can play with it a little bit more. It feels more flicky on the side of the tire. The Sportster, you do have to fight it to get it to tip in just a tiny, tiny bit, but you have to give it the same level of effort all the way through. So as you're increasing 10, 15, 20 degrees of lean angle on the Sportster, that bike requires you to maintain the amount of effort as you give it. At no point do you feel the bike start to take over and fall into the lean. The entire time that you're on the Sportster in the middle of a turn, you're giving it that input. Now, I will say this, they're both equally as planted in the turns.
So closing things off, the 101 is going to offer a little bit more comfortable suspension for commuting, better brakes, and a little bit more tech features. The Sportster is going to offer its awesome neo-retro looks with a little bit more power. At the same price, which one are you taking home? So there you guys have it. That's my thoughts and opinions on the Scout 101 versus the Sportster S. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to see more videos, check out this one right here for more Scout reviews. Or if you want to see more Sportster content, check out this one right here. Peace out, guys.
Huge, huge, huge special thanks to my man Rob for bringing out his Scout 101 and letting me ride it. I greatly appreciate it, man. Thank you.